Hello, welcome back to Histamine Health Coach. I'm Teresa Christensen, and I help women live well with histamine intolerance. Over the past couple of episodes, we've been talking about lifestyle factors that can influence histamine symptoms. We've talked about sleep, and we've talked about movement. Today, I want to talk about another lifestyle factor that doesn't get nearly enough attention: support in the form of relationships. When most people think about histamine intolerance, they think about the food, they think about ingredients, labels, recipes, and food lists. But one of the things I hear most often from women is not directly about the food. It's about wanting to live life without fear of food. They want to go to restaurants. They want to travel. They want to attend family gatherings. They want to accept an invitation to dinner without immediately worrying about what they can eat, whether they'll react quickly or pay dearly the next day. And that's where support becomes so important. One of the things I've noticed is that while women with histamine intolerance miss specific foods or have a fear of giving up their favorite foods, what I hear most is, I wish I could go out to dinner without worrying. I wish I could go to a friend's house without feeling awkward. I wish I didn't have to think about food all the time. What they're really missing isn't necessarily the food. It's the experience. It's the connection. It's being able to say yes to an invitation without having to mentally prepare for it, to feel included. And that's where support matters. When we talk about support, I don't mean that everyone around you has to completely change their lives. I don't expect my family and friends to become experts in histamine intolerance, and I don't expect gatherings to revolve around me. Support is usually much simpler than that. In our family, it's about compromise. My husband's niece and her family live nearby, and we see them about once a month. Most of the time we gather at their home. They have 2 kids, and it's easier for them. Usually, I will bring a protein, or at least a protein option that I know works for me, and they provide appetizers and vegetables. I usually bring the dessert too, because I love to bake. If we're going to a restaurant, they'll usually let me know where we're going ahead of time. So I look at the menu and make a quick plan, or I feel comfortable enough to say, I don't think that works for me. Is there another option? That may not sound like a big deal, but it is. It means I'm included in the planning. It means I have time to prepare. It means nobody is surprised when I ask questions about the menu. And perhaps most importantly, it means I don't feel like I'm navigating it alone. That's support, not perfection, not special treatment, just consideration. I've learned that many people want to feel supportive. They just don't understand histamine intolerance, and honestly, why would they? Most people have never heard of histamine buckets. They don't understand why one day you can tolerate a food and the next day you can't. They don't understand why a restaurant meal that looks perfectly healthy can cause problems. They're not trying to make life difficult. They're still working from a different understanding and just don't get it, which sometimes means we have to advocate for ourselves. Just last week, my husband suggested something for dinner, and I heard myself say for the 1000th time, I can't eat that. Now, that's not my favorite phrase. It may sound selfish or even limiting, and sometimes it's simply the truth. It's information, and information helps people support us. People can't help if they don't know what we need. I think this is an important point because support doesn't mean everyone changes the menu. Support doesn't mean everyone eats exactly like you. Support doesn't mean the entire family reorganizes every gathering around your symptoms. Support means finding a way to participate together. Sometimes that means bringing a dish to share. Sometimes it means eating before you go. Sometimes it means looking at the menu ahead of time. Sometimes it means politely saying no, and trust me, I've done that. Healthy support usually looks like both sides making an effort. You advocate for yourself. The people who care about you make room for that. There are still a few restaurants where I will say no without hesitation, because I already know there won't be anything there for me to eat. and I'll spend the entire time trying to figure out what I can safely order. And honestly, sometimes it's not worth the stress. But most restaurants, I can usually find something. Maybe it isn't exactly what I would order at home. Maybe I need to make a few modifications. Maybe I ask a few questions. But I can usually make it work. And that wasn't always true. There was a time when I felt like every invitation was a problem to solve. Now I look at it differently. Living well with histamine intolerance isn't about avoiding life. It's about learning how to participate in life in a way that works for your body. As we wrap up, I want you to think about one question. Who is on your team? Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a sister, maybe it's an online community. Perhaps it's a healthcare provider who listens, or it's someone who always remembers to ask if a restaurant will work for you. And if nobody comes to mind right away, that's okay too. Building support often takes time. Sometimes it starts with a single conversation. Sometimes it starts with asking for help. Sometimes it starts with being honest about what you need. But the truth is, histamine intolerance can be challenging, but carrying it alone is often harder than the condition itself. The people who support us won't always understand every symptom. They won't always get it right, but when they listen, include us, and make space for our needs, it can make a tremendous difference. You don't need everyone to understand. Sometimes you just need a few people willing to meet you where you are. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Simply email me at teresa@histaminehealthcoach.com with the word support in the subject line. And tell me about someone who has made living with histamine intolerance a little easier. Or tell me where you're struggling and wish you had more support. I read every email myself, and I'll personally write you back. You can also find additional resources, including my free low histamine diet starter plan at histaminehealthcoach.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind to yourself, and keep listening to your body. Have a great day.